I was over there last weekend. They were spraying that.
Well, guys, I'll see you later. I gotta get back to work.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I do too. I'll see you later.
Hey, could you wait around a minute? I got a couple questions I'd like to ask you.
Yeah, I guess. What's on your mind?
Have you ever heard of a herbicide called Rascal?
My understanding is you've got to be damn careful with it.
Well, I know you do it. I'd really like to use it because I know it'll be just the ticket for my problems, but I can't afford a screw up on this one, and the ones I've used in the past have been awful forgiving.
You mean you've been using herbicides all this time? You've been screwing up all this time?
No, I haven't been screwing up. I've gotten by with a few minor problems, nothing I couldn't live with, but boy, using Rascal, it bothers me.
Well, I guess, what do you want from me?
Well, you seem to understand spray equipment awful well, and you don't even seem to have many problems. I'd just like to pick your brain for a few minutes if I could.
Well, sure. I don't have anything pressing right now to do. Well, where do you want to start?
One of the things the Rascal label said when I was looking at it, it says I need to put on 20 gallons an acre, and I remember my sprayer's only putting on 12 gallons an acre. I don't know where to go from here.
Okay, we need to start at square one and answer some basic questions, I guess. Now, the label requires 20 gallons. It's really important. That's probably the minimum requirement. So you need to apply at least 20 gallons. So we'll have to make sure how your sprayer's set up. I guess the second question is what kind of speed you can use for the conditions where you're going to apply this material, you know.
Well, I'm set up to go at 5 miles an hour.
Well, third then would be what pressure do you want to operate this in?
I don't know.
Well, I guess my next question to you then would be which is more important to you, drift or coverage?
Both.
Well, that's true. Keep in mind that if we're going to operate at higher pressures and smaller droplets, it's better coverage, but the drift potential is much greater than if you go to lower pressure and larger droplets, the drift potential is greatly reduced.
Well, there's a big section I read in the label on drift, and I remember Roy Johnson got into a lawsuit last year because of drift with Rascal. I can't afford that. Besides, a little bit of Rascal is going to go an awful long ways.
All right, well then we better select a tip or nozzle size then that will produce larger droplets and then run at lower pressure. Well, basically I think we've got all the information we need to go over to the chem supply and see Doug and get the right tips for this job.
Well, I don't know why I need new tips or nozzles. They work fine.
What size are they?
Same size everybody else is using.
Oh, what kind are they?
Well, they're flat fan nozzles.
Ah, come on. Let's go over. We'll get the right nozzles for the right job.
Oh, I go down there.
Leave some money for the girl, will you?
Hi, Darrell. Hi, John. What can I do for you today?
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug. John's got a problem setting up for a Rascal application. John said that you set up your sprayer last go around. You might have some answers we could use.
Oh, man. That was a couple years ago. Gonna guess he had WR2 nozzles, probably 40 PSI, and most of the guys around here would be going about 5 miles an hour.
Well, would you use the same setup for Rascal?
I'd hate to guess at that till I looked at the label.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Doug. I was talking to Roy Johnson. He said he had some drift problems using Rascal. Do you remember how he was set up?
Oh, I think the safest way to handle that, John, would be to look at the nozzle booklet and read the label, and that'd give us the best idea what to do.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Let's see. Spray nozzle book's right here. I think about this page. And Rascal's new enough that we keep a label right handy. It does have quite a drift warning on it. The best way to handle that is to go to the largest droplet size as possible. There's always a chance of some susceptible plants nearby. And then the label also states that we have to have 20 gallons of water per acre. Let's look at the nozzle booklet, John, and see what would be best. You are going to apply that by broadcast treatment, aren't you?
Right, I'm going to use a ground rig, but really what difference is that going to make, Doug?
Well, let's look at the difference in the spray patterns and relative droplet size of these nozzles.
Well, it looks here like I should probably use a WR fan tip because it says right there that it will provide medium-sized droplets with good coverage and less drift.
Right, now we need to determine the right nozzle tip size. Your tips are spaced at 20 inches, aren't they?
I think so, Doug.
How fast do you want to go?
About 5 miles an hour.
Okay, we're here in the book. What we have in this column is a list of the GPAs or gallons per acre and 20-inch nozzle spacing and about 5 miles per hour, right?
Okay, I can still follow you there.
Okay, let's look down through here and find something close to 20 gallons per acre. What pressure does this first one correspond with?
Boy, Doug, that shows 60 psi. That's pretty high. Aren't I going to get a lot of drift with that?
Yeah, probably so. Here's one at 30 psi, but the speed needs to be slowed down to 4 and not 5 miles per hour.
Well, I don't mind slowing down a little bit, but what size nozzle tip will that take?
According to the book, we need a WR3 and it requires a 50 mesh screen.
Now, what's this 50 mesh screen stuff?
Oh, come on, John. Screens are the stuff that keep your nozzles from getting plugged. The larger the nozzle orifice, the larger the screen size. The booklet always tells which one of the screens you need to use with what tip. Which type of tips can I get for you guys? The aluminum and the brass ones tend to wear out a little bit faster if you have the wettable powders. However, they are quite inexpensive. Another choice would be the nylon or the stainless steel tips. They last a long time, especially with the wettable powders. And would have a little bit of trouble probably with the nylon tips when we're working with the solvents. Another choice would be the ceramics, but when you start working with ceramics, you gotta look like a bunch of money involved there.
Well, I think the stainless steel tips would be great for this selection, John, for Rascal.
Well, Doug, I'll go with the stainless steel tips. So, and for my setup, you better just give me 20 stainless steel tips with some screens.
Okay, I'll go get them for you, and then I'll put them in your account. Just a minute.
Okay, Doug, thanks a lot.
Well, here are the tips, guys, and the one free thing you're going to get out of us this year, your toothbrush, and I want you to keep your screen clean with that, John.
Thanks a lot, Doug. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming in, guys. Appreciate doing business with you.
Thanks a lot for the help, Doug. Really appreciate it. I'll make sure he keeps those screens clean for you.
Okay, Daryl. Make sure he does. We'll see you later.
See you, Doug.
Well, so John, this is that little puppy sprayer, huh? Most of these field sprayers, do have some troubles. We better check this one over good before we use it.
Well, this has been a good sprayer, Daryl, but the last I used it was last fall.
Okay. This tank looks pretty good condition on the outside, and it's clean, too. Really looks good.
Thanks. I'm pretty good about rinsing and cleaning it, especially with a lot of the different herbicides that I use.
Okay, John, start her up. Well, the agitation looks like it's running all right, John. Go ahead and shut it off. When was the last time you checked this mainline filter?
Well, it's been quite a while. We better do it.
All right, I'm not getting under there without my gloves. I'd say it's been quite a while. This damn thing's really dirty, John.
What do you want me to do? Just get a new one?
Nah, let's just take it up to the shop and you can clean it and we'll put it back on.
Okay.
Hey, where'd you go, California?
It would have been a lot more fun. Is this clean enough now?
Yeah, that looks like it'll be all right. So it'll do the job.
Just put it back on?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, John, start her up and set the pressure for about 30 pounds. John, you want to come around and look at this for a second? Yeah, John, if you've got a wee bit of a problem here, if this is the way it looked last time, it's really bad. Look at that nozzle there by you. Yeah, go ahead and mark it, and then we'll move on to the next one. Now that next one and the next one too would look all right, but look at that one there. It's just not putting out as much. Next few look okay. Go on down to the right boom there and you'll see, yeah, right there, that one's got a fouled up pattern. The rest of them look okay, John. Why don't you go around and turn it off? Let's see what's the matter with these. This is the first one I wasn't putting anything out.
Okay, Daryl.
What? There's no damn screen in it, John.
Is there supposed to be?
Yes, there's supposed to be. It plugged his tire in a drum.
Oh, so that's what was wrong with it.
Yes, here.
Okay.
Put a screen in that one, fix it, and go get the next one.
Okay.
Now, I remember the pattern was a little phony on this. It looked like it just wasn't putting out enough.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, you got a screen in that one.
I see that.
If there's anything up in it. I don't feel anything. Ah, you got the wrong size nozzle. That's
Oh,
a
really?
1,
Oh.
not a 3.
Oh, that make a difference?
Yes. Let's get the next one. Now this is the one, remember, that was heavy to one side and the pattern was uneven on it?
Yeah.
So, well,
Got a screen.
let's see what this one looks like, John. Well, it's the same way.
Like I said, Daryl, they're both the same kind of nozzles. I can't tell any difference.
Are the tips the same size?
Yeah, same size tips.
Well, now how am I going to show you this?
What are you talking about?
The difference in the size of the orifice inside. One's wore out. Which would you say was the newer of these two?
Look at the one on the left, Daryl. It does look well used, even a little bit abused.
I think you're right about that. As a general rule of thumb, you know, if a nozzle's worn more than 10%, it should be replaced. That's what the manufacturer says, and you need to replace them on a regular, every year basis.
Well, the nozzle output's in the booklet, right?
Right, John. Well, we got these nozzles squared away. Let's go on to something else. Now, we just went through all this. What'd you learn?
Learned about 3 things. Number 1, the screens. You got to have them in there in the first place, and you got to make sure that they're not plugged up.
Okay.
Secondly, on the nozzles, the biggest thing I learned, I think, is you got to have the same types of nozzles on a boom.
Okay.
And the last thing looking at these nozzles you pointed out is you got to make sure that they're not worn because they'll give you an uneven pattern.
All right. You got them. Those are the 3 things. Tell you what, why don't you go ahead and fire this puppy up? I thought I saw a leak down there on a boom a minute ago.
Okay.
Okay, John, let's fire this puppy up and see if we can't see what's wrong with these leaks we think we got down here. I think it's a clamp myself.
Okay, you ready, Daryl?
Yeah, go ahead.
And clear.
Here we go. Hold it. Let me see that damn gauge. How high was that?
It said only 60 pounds.
Well, this has got to stop. I don't mind helping you, but we got to fix this stuff. Let me look at that damn thing. Sure, that was only 60 now.
That's all it showed, Daryl.
Well, the hell the you did tell that old piece of it's been on there forever. This has got to stop. Why don't you get down to Doug's and see if you can't find a new gauge, and I'm going to go change my damn clothes.
You can do it now?
Yes.
Sorry about the wet down, Daryl.
That's all.
That's never happened before. I went to see Doug. He gave me the best gauge he had.
Well, it looks like a good one. It's big enough. Well, put it on. Maybe this won't happen again.
Give it a shot. Stand back, Daryl. I'll start it up again.
Okay, John.
$60 PSI now. Does everything look okay back there?
Yeah, the hoses aren't leaking. Let's go ahead and crank it on down to 30 pounds and line some of these tips. They're bad. turn it off and come around here and take a look.
What do you mean alignment?
Well, John, the nozzles are designed to offset themselves about 15 degrees so they spray past each other, not into each other. And there's several of those that are wrong. You might want to just take a wrench and straighten them back out where they belong. So they're about 15-degree offset on each one.
Oh, I see. Well, that ought to be easy enough to fix.
Sure. All right, we better check this boom height.
Why are you going to do that? It looked fine to me.
Well, if it's not at the proper height and not level, we're going to get an uneven and distorted pattern on the ground. When the boom's too high, you get excessive overlap. And if it's too low, you don't get any overlap, you actually get skips in your pattern. When a boom's not level, the pattern's distorted, so you get highs and lows within the pattern itself. It's got to be level and at the proper height. Well, John, let's see what the book says. Well, for 20-inch spacing on the nozzles, we should be 17 to 19 above the ground.
Well, Darrell, it's not much of a job to lower the boom. Why don't we just do it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's got it, Darrell. They're all at the right height.
Good. Well, John, you think this gauge is any good?
It should be, Darrell, for as much as I paid for it.
Well, I don't know. You never know with these new. I'll tell you what. The book says WR3 nozzles at 30 pounds. We should catch, out of one nozzle out there to check this gauge, 33 ounces in 1 minute. I think we should do that. That'll check the gauge.
Let's go do it.
John, come on around. We'll collect this. Here's a graduated container and a stopwatch. Collect it for 15 seconds on one nozzle, and then we'll check it against the book, and that way we can check the gauge like we said we would.
Okay, Darrell.
Well, John, what'd you get?
Just a little bit over 8 ounces, Darrell.
Well, good. Now, I brought this book in just so we'd know. And one nozzle, now you've got for 15 seconds?
Right.
Okay.
Well, look at that. If you figure a little over 8 ounces, in a minute, that'd come right about 33 ounces. That means the gauge is right on.
Got your money's worth.
Well, that does it, right, Darrell?
Wrong.
What do you mean wrong?
Well, now what have you done?
Well, we put new nozzles on.
Okay.
We aligned them.
Okay.
We lowered the boom and leveled it.
All right.
We put a brand new pressure gauge on. What else is there?
Well, you're almost up to speed, but what about speed?
We mean speed.
Well, the speed you're going to drive this tractor at. I think the book will have to look, but I think the book says 4 to 5 mile an hour to get 20 gallons to the acre.
Oh. No, I'm supposed to be going, what, 4 miles an hour, right?
Right,
Darrell?
right.
Okay, well, you give me a few minutes, I'll check out this tractor with the sprayer on it and check the speeds I need to be going to go 4 miles an hour.
All right, I'll tell you what. Lots of times these tacks and RPM indicators are not correct. I'll go over and lay out a 200-foot course for you, measure it out, and then you can drive across it, and we'll time it, and we'll know exactly how fast you're going.
Okay.
Well, you made it this far.
I did, Darrell. Figured out second range, third gear, about 2,400 RPM will get me 4 miles an hour.
All right, here's the timer, or the stopwatch. We've laid the course out from flag to flag. You need to go both ways. Tell me what the time is each way, and you need a running start, so you're up to speed when you get to the first flag.
All right.
Let's do her. how'd you do?
Good. I got 29 seconds the first trip, and I got 31 seconds coming back.
John, that's 30-second average. That's 4.5 miles an hour.
That's close enough, isn't it?
No. Remember when we went over the label? It said you had to have a minimum of 20 gallons to the acre?
Right.
Well, you're going faster than you should. Now, what's that do to you?
Well, I'm putting on just a little bit less.
Well, just a little bit. Let me show you something. Look here. You need to be right at 4 miles an hour. And that 34 seconds, look what it does to you over here in the nozzle table.
I can understand most of the table. I understand the WR3 type of a tip at 30 psi, but boy, when I get to the gallons per acre, it's confusing me.
All right, John. Look at the table. The table says that at 4 miles an hour, you're 21.2 gallons per acre.
Right.
Okay, now look at the top of the chart again and come down. At 5 miles an hour, you're 15.6 gallons per acre.
Right.
Okay. Now you told me, and we figured out you were traveling 4.5 miles an hour.
Right.
Well, that's only 18.4 gallons per acre. That's the average between those two figures.
Which is under the label.
That's correct.
Okay.
Now you're going to have to be at 4 miles an hour to meet the requirements of the label for the 20 gallons per acre.
Okay.
All right. Now what happens if you speed up?
Well, if you speed up like shows here, I'm going to be putting on even less than I was putting on.
That's correct. If you slow down to 4 miles an hour where you should be,
Then as I slow down, I will gradually put on more.
that's correct. But at 4 miles an hour, you're going to have the right amount, aren't you?
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to give her another shot. I'll crank back a little on the RPMs and should get it right this time.
Okay, John. Have at. Well, how'd you do?
33 up, 35 back, 34 average. Daryl, we got her just right this time.
Hey, good. Be sure and mark those speeds, both the tack and the gears, because you're going to need it for all the rest of the time you're using this.
Is there anything else?
Now, I think we got this puppy done.
Great.
It's got WR3 nozzles in it. We set the pressure at 30 pounds, we know that. You're driving 4 miles an hour, and you're putting out 21.2 gallons by the book now. That meets the label requirements. You should have very little drift potential with this, but always keep in mind now, anytime you do it, that any changes in speed or pressure or nozzles are going to alter the output of this sprayer. And you should monitor all this stuff on a regular basis all the time. You won't have this trouble anymore.
Well, thanks a lot, Daryl. That's great. I owe you a big one for this.
You bet you owe me a damn steak dinner.
Ready to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your nozzles are, I can't say that.
Some other basic things that have to be answered is I don't know what. John, do you think this new gauge is good?
Well, it should be as much as dogs and cats jump to my bones.
Who are you looking at? Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to Daryl.
Oh.
No, I'm talking to John.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm talking to John.
I need to buy new nozzles. It's like, well, what kind do you have?
Yeah.
Well, I got flat fan. Well, what size?
Yeah.
Same size as every else around here. Well, let's go and find out what they are then.
Yeah,
See
get
if
up,
we
okay.
need these.
Well, I think we've got all the basic information.
You could charge me for it, aren't you, huh?
Between these two tips, John, this one's plumb worn out. Which one did you say was the newer of the two?
Well, look at the one on the left, Daryl. It does look well used. Even looks a little bit abused.
What pressure does this first one correspond with?
Boy, that shows 60 psi. That's pretty high pressure. We're gonna get a lot of drift with that, aren't we, Doug?
Hey, you want this thing aimed at him?
Oh, I was going to sit here and give you a little play-by-play.
These material screens. Make sure that the tips, right, aren't worn.
Okay, I can do it. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, all right.
Car coming.
Okay, I think.
Well, Daryl, I'm sure glad we went through that. blessed routine, especially since we were going to change the nozzles anyway.
Did you learn a couple things, John? Anytime you do it, that any changes in speed or pressure or nozzles are going to alter the output of this sprayer. And you should monitor all this stuff on a regular basis all the time. You won't have this trouble anymore.